What can you do? What can you do? It's Friday on the Backpack Show. It is usually a little less buttoned up on this show on this day, but I mean, that's not saying a lot. We're not very buttoned up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, are we, Carrie?
That's fair to say. No, the Backpack Show is pretty casual, much like a backpack itself, as opposed to a briefcase.
I've been thinking a lot about it as I'm writing the book, The Backpack, and I've just been thinking all about the fact that, we have different setups for different places. You don't ever just have the one pack. You have lots of variety. So there's a lot of things that you can stick into one, but what I like about it is you do have that. You have that variety to have happen. Let's talk about variety today. Who do we have on the show today, Carrie?
We have Leigh Barnes, who's in the CBD business, and she's had a lot of other businesses before this. She spent a long time working with brides, making gowns and veils and all sorts of stuff before realizing she kind of didn't like brides. So we'll talk about her journey over to CBD. And we have Sara Hawkins, who I've known for about 7 years. She's an attorney and she works with a lot of startups. She also knows a lot about social media law, work in the digital space, and some cannabis clients. So we're going to talk with Sara. She's so smart. Seriously.
You are definitely going to want to stick around for both because we have two whole different skill sets and whole different processes and whatnot. So, it's Friday. Come on, you can leave some work behind. It's not going to change your life a lot. Chippy Chip Griffin says you might say that this is a variety show.
You might. But the through line is business success from unusual places, like success stories and tips and insights.
Backpack Show. World-class beatboxer, Scotland's most beloved female comedian. I mean,
her daughter.
And her daughter. Oh,
another one of Scotland's most beloved comedians.
Her daughter is the funniest person.
She so is.
We get the coolest people to hang out, and we have so much to do today.
Well, don't forget, that's just the guests. We have the community as well that turns up and supports us and makes comments and says hello and has a bit of a chat, which I love.
Couldn't be any luckier to have the kinds of people we have on here. So, and look at this. We got Jeremy. Well, we're up in CBD today there, Bubby. So I secured the Molson Fund. That's good. John's here. Hi, John. Good to see you. Michelle's here. I was getting worried.
Hello.
Michelle's almost always in the very front row. So I was thinking
she was late.
Yeah. She maybe had to clap some erasers. I don't know.
She had things to do.
I am smushing this cat's head right below the camera angle. My hand is mashing her entire skull plate.
Can you just hold the cat up so people can see it, or they're going to wonder what's going on today?
Don't really want to look. See, it's black. It's a black cat.
Fine.
I like how all the guests are friends with each other, and Michelle's making the breakfast. She didn't make me any breakfast, but listen,
me neither.
Let's grab Leigh Barnes on. Leigh was, we had Leigh and Charlie.
Hi, Nancy.
But Charlie couldn't make it. Charlie's not feeling so well, so we grabbed the energetic Leigh Barnes to come in and say hi.
Yeah, you don't get to dress brides for years if you don't look good yourself.
Yeah, look good, act good. Look at this Leigh Barnes lady. Hi, Leigh.
Good morning. How's everybody
together
today? I love it. Y'all have already got me excited, ready for Friday. Thank God it's Friday. It's Friday. That's the best part about today.
Now, Leigh, you have background in the network marketing world. I have no doubt in my mind that you've done a variety of network marketing kind of stuff because you have that energy. You have that, I got to get a lot of people motivated to do something that they're not so sure they meant to do. You've got it.
Well, as a business owner, I invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in my first venture and, did it for 30 years, did very well. And of course, the trend changed. I was in the wedding industry. And when things change as business owners, you better change. And I was too stupid and too prideful to figure that out. And if you don't figure that out quick enough, you really lose your tail. And I did. I lost a lot. So I think the nice thing is a neat playing field. Indirect sales people put their nose down at it. I'm like, you're an idiot if you don't at least look at it, because it's the pure business model of somebody able to take a hardworking person and I get to achieve whatever goal I have. And that's going to be skills. It's going to be, I may need to learn. I may need to be corrected. The things that take an entrepreneur, and it challenges you daily. I love it. It's purity. My first big chance to learn about that industry was Excel Communications. They took a long distance company, went to billions, and I met a very wonderful man. He was a coach and a mentor, making $1 million a month in the early 90s. And I thought, this crazy guy who doesn't even have great skills can do that. And I realized that that was my first chance in it. And then, of course, I went into traditional business, just 150 employees, went through the normal rigmarole of a business. And the comparisons are night and day. Low cost, get into something that I could build over a period of time, and it created residual income for my family. So been a neat experience.
So you weren't like, hey, this sounds like, a pyramid scheme or something. Like, how do you get past that? And how do you know which businesses are real and which businesses are not?
Mindset. You're either a 1099 employee in this world or you're a W-2. 1099s want people to tell them what to do. There's so many people that want somebody to tell them what to do. A business owner makes 30 to 40 business decisions a day. An average employee makes 3 to 4. So who's going to be, what kind of person? So people say, well, it doesn't work. I go, yeah, it doesn't work because 85% of businesses fail because they can't handle it. It's the up, down of the roller coaster world. And it's hard. I mean, there are days I've sat in the closet just wanting to cry with my Corona, and my bag of chips. I mean, you just can't handle it. And there's days you're on the top of the mountain when you've made help somebody. So there's a lot to being a business owner. So people not everybody, it's not for everybody.
Sound familiar, Chris? What's your chip of choice when you're going to have a good cry in the closet?
Oh, I go like the Fritos.
Doritos.
No, Fritos, the smelly toe of chips. So Zalise is your new project. You're working on this with Charlie Becker, who couldn't be here with us today. Zalise is a CBD product, and it is an interesting time for CBD because people are just starting to learn about things like the fact that their body has this entire system in it that has just not been talked about much, hasn't even been studied much except for over in Israel. So you have a kind of an uphill battle in explaining all this. I mean, you have so many testimonials, but that's kind of when people are halfway to it. But there's a lot of people who are saying, why am I going to grab a little bottle of tincture and start shoving this stuff in my mouth? And, I have to kind of make an investment long before I get to see the instant result. And people hate not instant things, and they get fussy. Talk a little bit about the product. Talk a little bit about what this particular business is that you're running.
I think it's pretty fascinating. You think about it. 2 years ago, nobody even knew about this industry. You heard about the marijuana industry, but you'd not heard about the CBD industry, really. Didn't get legal until December of 2018. And roughly as a country, you're looking at around 800 million in sales. Remember, I'm a business owner, 30 years. I have managed to struggle through trends, and I've done very well through trends. This is a trend that I could not look at. You're crazy not to look at this industry. So 800 million today, it's at 4 billion in the US, roughly. We're looking at in a couple of years, and this is Brightfield Report, all the Wall Street, the Forbes, you can go look at all that stuff. They're looking at already $1 trillion industry in 10 years. So whatever age you are, I'm 50, 60 years, I'll be 60, a whole industry, a whole prohibition just opened up and I can participate. So there's only 5 ways to participate. Number 1, you got to be a farmer. I am not. I kill every house plant I bring in this house. Number 2, you either have to have a lab. I don't have a lab, and I was not a good scientist or anything in school at all. Number 3, I'd either have to have a research that would sell equipment and things like that to these vendors. And I'm not that. I'm not that person. Or you got to figure out how to sell it online. This is the kicker. Federal government's going to come in. It's going to shut down tons and tons of bad products. There's a lot of bad actors in the business. Think about an industry that's going to attract that much wealth is going to attract a lot of bad people in the business. So there's a clarity. You've got to make sure you're taking something that's certified. U.S. Hemp Authority certified is an excellent source to go look up products. Elise is number 1 in that group. We love our products, but we also have something different. It gets into the bloodstream. You're asking a plant that grows 10 to 20 feet tall. They're going to take it into an oil to get into a body that's 80% water. It's an oil and water don't mix. We went to school. We learned that in grade school. So you're asking this plant to do miracles in the body, which it does. It affects what you said, the endocannabinoid system. I challenge everybody to Google. I'm just going to challenge everybody to go Google CB2 receptors. Go Google CB2. PubMed is one of the best places to go check it out. What it does to the body is fascinating. You can't say what it's doing. You'll never hear anybody comment what this plant does because they can't. There's laws in place that we can't say anything. But I can tell you this, my belief level was a 0, thinking it was snake oil. You get some good stuff, it'll be a 10. And you will never shut up about it. You want your mama, your grandma, your sister, your brother, your dad, everybody needs to be on it. Because if it doesn't pump your endocannabinoid system, the results are much different. And I'm a cancer survivor. So 15 years of going through that, I can tell you, I wish I had known what I know now. That's the biggie.
I bet
But
you
it's
do
game
all this
changer.
when you're working with brides. Be like, hey, you need to chill out.
You need it. That's the reason why I quit the wedding industry.
Right?
They needed it. They needed CBD in their body. And you brought up a great point, Carrie. That's the problem. Everybody in this country is so stressed, and there's anxiety and stress. If this plant was taken out of our body 83 years ago, and if you really do your research and figure it out, you're going to be ticked. It makes you mad, because if you go look at the bill, it'll make you mad. There's a very well-known pharmaceutical company at the bottom of the marijuana bill. Freaky.
When you were in business, I kind of am interested to know how you got into the wedding business and how long you stayed, and like when you decided to get out. Like, when did the Bridezilla stuff get to be too much that you were like, time for my next big idea?
So I was one of these that hated school. I don't know if anybody's like that. I hated school. I was like full of energy. It was so boring listening to those classrooms. And my brain was just like, ooh, I need to do this. Well, I had a good friend of mine offer me an opportunity to work in a floral shop. And I started doing some design work with my aunt. And I was like 8 or 9. And then it kind of propelled me to want to make stuff. And if your child is out there and you've got a young one, never ever stop them from their desires. I always say at 12, most parents, their gifts your children have, even before 12, that's their gift. And my gift was making things, glue guns, beads. I would take rocks and color them and sell them to the neighbors. Fast forward, I ended up in the wedding industry because I ended up in the fabric store, and people would come in wanting to make a wedding veil. I'm like, oh, I'll make it for $20. I didn't even know how to sew. I just knew I could make it for $20 and I wanted the money. So I started doing it a little bit there and there, and started Leigh Originals, which was a veil company. Fast forward, I decided to take the expansion instead of out of my home, where I had a whole bunch of ladies helping me make things in my home in my late teens. Well, then I ended up opening a bridal shop, or buying a bridal shop and moving the factory in that. And so from the factory side to the manufacturing to the warehouse, it took over. And I got where I loved it.
In your late
by the time I was
teens.
20,
I was doing
21.
nothing in my late teens.
It was, I won a big award, and I'll never forget. It's the same award that one of the Sharks has on his desk. It's called the Small Business Entrepreneur Award by Ernst & Young. And I was 27. I was pregnant out to here. My hands were throbbing. I hated my company. I hated my business. I was struggling, and I'll never forget going, I've got to do something. And then I won this massive award. And I remember thinking, they've awarded me for something. I don't even enjoy this business anymore. And that's how I ended up, in my 30s. I decided, I always have a big thing. My husband's really smart. We've been married 30 years. He looks at me and said, any day you show up for work and you do not want to be pulled up, you don't need to be there. Pick the phone and make yourself a decision to get out. And I did. We sold it all, and I ended up in the real estate brokerage world and the business world, and I fell in love with that. But you got to figure out your passion. You only have today. When I had the cancer, it taught me that. Stage 3, aggressive and rare, nursing a 1-year-old and a 7-year-old. And, they told me I might have 3 to 6 months to live, and I'll never forget that. So when you start writing your eulogy to your children, what you would tell them at their wedding, what you tell them when they had their first child, you start living. People don't live. They don't realize tomorrow is not guaranteed. And I lived from that moment on.
So Chris, it's like, don't finish crappy books. If you don't like what's on the menu, leave the restaurant.
It is like that. So I want to talk about.
Good point.
First time I noticed something about CBD was my friend Andrew Hyde, who does a lot with different startups and all that. Sara probably knows Andrew Hyde. He's one of those guys around her world. Our other guest, Sara Hawkins. Andrew Hyde showed me this video on TED Talks Boulder. It says the surprising story of medical marijuana and pediatric epilepsy. Now this one's again, there's a lot of CBD in this story as well. It's a little different story than what Leigh's selling as Lee's. But what's interesting about it was the kid that's involved in this thing, young kid, was having something like 270 to 300 seizures a day. 300 a day. You can't have a life like that. I mean, that's when you divide that even by like the 16 supposed waking hours, you can't imagine those kinds of numbers. So what they ended up doing was, with a little bit of CBD and then some other processes along the way, they got this person totally regulated. Now it's something like 2 seizures a month. And so the big opportunity with all that, the big change was just because of that, the systems and what you said about people getting upset about when they realize that basically drug companies are why we don't have any knowledge or access to this. This is the thing that I've been sort of pursuing ever since I heard about it. It's just the fact that there's a big world out there that, we have the opportunity to help a lot of people. And it's medicine that technically we could grow in our own backyard, even though that's not the way it's working for people right now.
Did you see Kara's comment that they gave CBD to her disabled dog?
I did. I even popped it right up there. So, it's
huge. Animals have an ECSs, anything with a spine. So guys, this is the cool thing. Your body was designed to take in hemp. And remember, marijuana and hemp, two different things. We're not talking about the same, but there's so many studies out there. And I'll tell you this, the cool part about it is when you take a plant, and the reason why Zalise was such a big deal to me, I took 3 other products. If it floats in water, you're getting no more than 3 to 5% absorption. They're selling you milligrams when it's all about absorption. Right. Is it getting into the body? So do your research on PubMed. Go Google CB2. CBG is a new frontier. We're about to bring out a new technology. It actually is going to be released tomorrow that is good for metabolism. So imagine taking a plant. How many have gained the quarantine or quarantine 19 pounds?
No comment, Leigh.
We want to work on the brain receptors. So if the brain, the plant actually works on the metabolism levels, and we're excited. It's going to be a brand new revolutionary medical breakthrough. And not only are we hearing it from medical establishments, but we're hearing it across the country. The stories are just, you can't stop the stories. It's just awesome. And what it does to the body, every single person needs. You only need a few drops. Of course, ours is so absorbent. That's the key. People want absorption. I'm going to spend good hard-earned income. I want to see it. And I've had people see results within hours. So very exciting.
Big stuff. Leigh Barnes, stick around if you can. We've got to move on. We've got to grab our sponsor stuff and that sort of thing. Stick around. We have a little panel at the end. So thanks so much for being part of the show so far today.
Thank you so much for being here.
Woo. All right. Don't go anywhere.
I love that when you've got a life set up, some people feel really entrenched or like trapped in it or something. Like I changed out of law as a career. So, I get it. I'm right there with her. But, you don't necessarily have to just like lie in your own bed because you made it. You can go have a whole new career, a whole new life.
No question.
Forgot to push a button.
Which one? That button?
Mm-hmm.
No, because then I just have to take it back off again. Watch this.
Okay.
Sponsored. Hey, but before you do that, look at this. They sent me swag. StreamYard.
I'm so jealous.
And this is a StreamYard hoodie. That's actually why I'm wearing a hoodie. Because it says StreamYard. I have a StreamYard hoodie. Don't worry. I think they might have sent you one. So we're sponsored by StreamYard. Go to cbrogan.me/StreamYard. You can make your own show. You could have a Leigh Barnes show. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine the Leigh Barnes show? That would be all the energy. Yeah, I wouldn't need coffee anymore. I'd just give up coffee. I would just watch Leigh.
Just watch Leigh.
Yep. All the energy. cbrogan.me/StreamYard. You can make your own show just like this. It's super easy. This is the stuff Carrie turned me on to. This is how you could be on the run. You could be hiding out somewhere and
seriously
make a show on the run.
I had a lot of people ask me to do shows with them after we started doing this. It's StreamYard. And I think half the reason was StreamYard.
No question. No question. They get excitable about it too. They're like, I can't believe how easy it is to make a show. And then they realize you have to actually run.
Well, I told them all it was easy and they kind of didn't believe me. And then they would try it and be like, oh, I don't need you. I was like, I know, right?
All done.
That's what I said.
Right. Yeah, because they wanted you to come on and like be a showrunner
and like run it, but it's stupid easy to use. You really don't. Yeah. You don't need me. You don't need anybody. You could do it all by yourself.
When Carrie's back at the mothership, I'm not even allowed to touch the buttons, so I have to play with my prayer bead. But today I'm touching all the buttons.
Well, you are inconsistently
drunk with power.
Somebody shut up, Dad.
We're sponsored by PubSite. Hey, authors, if you ever wrote a book that you thought you were proud of and no one else was, you can publish it on it, wherever you want to publish it, but you can promote it on a site like PubSite, pub-site.com.
Like Leigh would tell you, nobody can buy something if they can't find it.
That's right.
You need a website to promote your book and your authors and your appearances and your social media sites and all that stuff.
The Leigh Barnes story, as it came out, volume 1, volume 2, volume 3, could be on PubSite, pub-site.com. You would have so much. So this thing is really expensive, though. You got to.
No, it isn't.
Put some money away for a rainy day.
It's you have a 14-day free trial. After that, it's $19.99 a month. It's
which
really,
is
really
20
easy
bucks.
to build your own website on this tool. It's so, so easy. And it's got all the pieces authors need because the people who created PubSite run FSB Associates, which is a book publicity firm that's been in the business for 25 years. They know what they're doing. They know what you need on a website. It's really easy. If you absolutely can't be bothered to make your own website, they'll even do it for you for $499.
Which is $500. Okay. They're
Thank you.
also a sponsor of Person of the Day.
But it's also really, really inexpensive.
Person of the Day. I was going to give it to Jeremy, but he left. So I guess he can't be our Person of the Day.
Oh, well, darn. Maybe he'll come back again.
Wah. All right. Your guest, Sara Hawkins.
My guest. So then we have yours and mine.
This is your guest.
Do you know what your guest did today?
That's right. You met at, I didn't even hear what you said. Something about pee in a cup.
Oh, no.
Conference or
no. The Type A Parent Conference, which has nothing to do with peeing in a cup. They don't require you to, because a lot of women probably were on different things. No, I'm just kidding. So the Type A Parent Conference, and it was a group of like parenting bloggers and influencers and all that kind of stuff. It just like, it's exactly what you're picturing probably, but they were looking to monetize their businesses. So I was there to speak on a panel, and Sara was there giving a presentation too about what people need to know about law. So she's a really accomplished attorney in the digital space. So she helps startups, she helps people in the digital space to create, like, say, contests and giveaways, and or even rules like articles of incorporation, rules for different things. So she just knows so many things that people need to know and don't even realize exist. So I was like, we need to have Sara on because she is a font of knowledge. She knows like everything I know except more because she practices it like day in and day out.
Hi, Sara.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Carrie.
Hello. So
I don't know
the things we don't know.
I'm not as lively as Leigh is going to be.
Well,
like I can't make the law that exciting.
I hear there's products that can. I'm just kidding. No, but Sara, so I was thinking for you going into any kind of a conference like the ones we were speaking at, there's tons of bloggers that are like, why should I care about the law? Nobody else cares about the law. You hear that all the time. They're like, they're violating, they're not disclosing stuff, like they're not caring about copyright. What do you tell people? Because I tell them, hey, someday it'll be your turn to get in trouble. Like, you just, I don't know what works.
I don't know. I mean, it's all about risk. I mean, people ask me all the time, like, it's like, what's the worst that could happen? I'm like, well, I guess it depends on what your worst is. I mean, most things really aren't going to send you to prison, but maybe prison is not your threshold. Maybe like just having to deal with regulators, perhaps, losing your Instagram site or your social media, paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines, or
that sounds bad. That would be my worst.
Or simply just even hiring a lawyer and paying a couple $1,000s to a lawyer so you don't have to pay, whatever the penalties are or something like that. So
right. But you're on your own too, Sara, and not every lawyer does that. I mean, that is being an entrepreneur on top of being a lawyer. So how did you end up a solopreneur, kind of sole practitioner?
I just didn't, I didn't like the work that I would have had to do for, 80 hours a week so that I could bill, 40 or 50 hours. And it was the end of the 90s, the .com era was starting to, solidify really. And at the firm that I had worked for before moving to Arizona, I was the younger lawyer, and I got to work with huge established companies as they moved online. And that's always pretty exciting when someone's like, I don't know what this is, go figure it out. And I'm like, okay, sure. So I probably did some of the first like hybrid online traditional marketing promotions. And I was just like, this is really cool. And then entrepreneurs were just like, great, this is fantastic. And lots of money was flowing, and nobody was there to represent them but huge firms that charge a lot of money. And it just started to bother me more that this concept of entrepreneurism, especially for women, the legal side became unattainable. And so what they do is they would create these companies that have zero for legal. They'd scale the companies. They'd get to the point where they could ask for money and go to venture and go to angel capitalists. And they would then realize that they can't get the money because they've got liabilities that nobody wants to invest in.
So what kinds of things do entrepreneurs need to worry about that they aren't? Like, let's go back to the beginning and assume that they're starting up now. What should they do now so they don't have those kinds of problems later?
I think one of the first things is intellectual property. People get tied to a name or, a branding concept. And, they say, oh, it's not on Google, therefore I can do it. And they don't expand beyond that. Or they look at something that seems to be working now. I get that a lot. Well, I'm going to model this company. I'm like, well, that's fantastic. Do you realize that they've probably spent $15-20 million in legal fees over the last 5 years and have entered into a consent agreement with the state of California? And they're like, well, just fix it. Like, so I don't have to do that.
Just fix it. Just fix it, Sara.
I'm like, okay. It's like, you don't realize what the issues are, but intellectual property is a huge one. And state compliance issues, depending on what your industry is.
So you really do have some work to do, like some groundwork to lay before you can just kind of dive in with your big idea.
Right. I mean, most people are like, oh, I'll just go to, whatever random website I can go to start a company. You can start a company on any website. There's a handful of them where you just type in your name and they'll form you a company, but nobody tells you exactly what to do after that. I have clients that have like, oh, I heard I should be an S Corp, so I'm an S Corp. I'm like, well, that's fantastic. When's the last time you paid yourself salary as an employee? And when did you file your employer taxes? And they're like, oh, I just do that at my Schedule C at the end of the year. I'm like, yeah, you're going to get a pretty big wake-up call then, because you're going to be late on these different filings. So they're reading things and not understanding the implications of what it is for their business. Or they want to hire an employee, not realizing that there is now multiple layer work that has to be done.
So you make it sound really hard.
Right. So that's what I did when I started my business. I just went and I filed, and the first big business I ran, tax people said, you should make it an S Corp. And that's exactly what I did. So I'm right there with what you just said. So what's the opposite?
What
and
should you do?
There goes all the comments about the stupid feline. So.
I mean,
can you make
having a good accountant, or somebody who could help you like on a monthly basis with your books, because not everybody, like people think that
Sara.
I'm an entrepreneur, I can do everything, but that's not the reality of it. The reality is that you're very good at one thing, and that's like your idea or your business, your like the marketing or the whatever part of your business. But the day-to-day is really, really important. Taxes really trip people up, and it's something that you can't often fix in retrospect. It's very expensive. You can usually fix it, but it's very expensive. And
so
like
just
Chris,
do it right like the first time.
And like Chris, your experience, when somebody's like, oh, well, you can just be an S Corp. Well, that's fine. But if you don't know the questions to ask, it's hard to, inform yourself. And it is easy. It's super easy to be an S Corp. You fill out a piece of paper, but then there's that other part of, having to actually pay yourself a reasonable and customary salary, and paying the government quarterly, because they want their money quarterly, or they will charge you more money for the privilege of not paying them.
Right.
And that stresses you out once you realize I've made a mistake and it's expensive to fix, but then your entire business focus deviates away from what your passion is.
Well, I know this is a little bit of a loaded question, Sara, but we specialize in those on the show. So how much could a startup expect to spend then to set things up like correctly? Let's say they go to a boutique firm like yours instead of to one of the big ones, which I know would require like a huge retainer and stuff. So what is like reasonable to budget for setting yourself up correctly?
Honestly, it's probably under $1,000. Some states, because their filing fees are more, they require publication. Those are a little bit more. But honestly, to do it right, it's about $1,000 to actually have somebody speak to you and ask you the questions that you don't know what to ask.
So it's not so bad. That's not so bad.
No, it's not. And then if you're not an accountant type of person, but you need to have an employee, then working with somebody who can do your books. I mean, honestly, somebody can do your books. I mean, somebody who knows what they're doing can do your books, run your payroll, and do your quarterly taxes for, I don't know, probably $100, $150 a month. I mean, that's complete peace of mind versus the penalty letter you might get from your workers' comp bureau in your state for $10,000 because you forgot to file on time, and their penalties are $1,000 a day.
Cat sorted out over there, Chris.
The cat's like, you're talking business, I'm out of here.
He gave up.
Yeah, my cat's like, you just made me really sad, and I'm going to stop being an entrepreneur. Is what I just thought.
I am here for Catter Day. I am not here for catrepreneuring.
Oh my gosh!
I thought that was actually encouraging because you would think or guess that it might be a lot more. But now you're in some highly regulated industries too, Sara, like some of your clients are. So this $1,000 or whatever to get set up for a regular business, is it more for like in the cannabis industry or in another industry that's real super regulated?
It can be a little bit more for cannabis, but I mean, honestly, it's, starting a company is starting a company. If it's regulated, then, there's other, aspects of it, whether there's licensing or, not being able to have a bank account type of thing.
Wow. That's when you stuff your mattresses.
Right. But it's in that aspect, it's really important to have, someone on the accounting side, because you have to account for all of this cash. Because one, you're going to get hosed if you don't, and two, how do you know if you're making a profit? If you can't really see it on a piece of paper.
The mattress gets bigger, obviously, Sara. That's how you know. You're like, that's so comfortable. It's like a pillow top.
A California king like this year, not a twin. I'm going from a twin to like a dorm room. My first year is the dorm room mattress. That's, we just kind of.
Bob Collins had a question, Chris. Do you see it?
He did. I do. I'm here for it. So what key 2 or 3 questions should people ask when setting up a company? I did see that question.
That's a great question. One is, where should it be? People think that I live in a state, therefore it has to be in that state, and that's not always true. And then there's the converse of it is like, I heard I can start a company in, state I don't live in. And that's not always easy either. For example, California will create nexus on the most tenuous of things. But if you live in California, you can form your company somewhere else. You will then have to also register it in California. So why pay twice?
And create nexus just means like having a justification for having a business there, like some kind of presence there.
Present, like a lot of people hear nexus in respect to sales tax, but it is like that legal connection to the state. Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
No, go ahead. So that was the first question. It's like, where should you be?
Where should you be? And then what type should you be? The thing is, I get emails or calls and that says, I need to be an LLC. Why do you need to be an LLC? Is that the best thing for you? It's super easy to be an LLC. There's a lot less work, but it might not be the best depending on what your situation is. I mean, if you're a husband and wife team, great. If you are, best friends or colleagues or whatever, and you're forming a company, perhaps an LLC is great, but maybe it's not. You just have to look at the tax implications. Where are you located?
And liability
issues. Because an LLC has no tax structure. You get to choose it. So it's like you get to be this company up here where the state gets to say whether you're an INC, which is an incorporated corporation, an LLC, a partnership. But then you get the tax question. And it's like, how do you want to be taxed?
Nobody wants to be taxed like at all, but
Nobody,
I
I
mean,
don't want to tax it. But
maybe
you
I
know,
have
do you
to
want
choose.
it? Right. Like,
So there
are
again,
you-
there's more to know. There's more
There's
to
more
know
to
than
know,
you would even
and-
think to ask. So don't just listen to your buddy when they're like, be an S corp. That's my Boston.
So Robert Collins asked the follow-up question: why are so many people incorporated in
Oh.
Delaware?
Mhm.
Oh, because Delaware was the first state, and they're like, we are friendly to the corporation. Because your other option are those liberals. in
Liberals
New
like in
York.
Massachusetts. Drop my mic. In
Like
Massachusetts.
in Massachusetts and New York, and we are the conservative. We love corporations, and we will protect you, and that's why. Really, I mean, they had really good marketing, and they had zero competition. So Carrie and Chris can tell you how that works on the business side.
I just
You
want to
end up
add
in a
a
monopoly.
personal footnote to the whole last several minutes of questions, which is that my guidance was rather thin and poor, both from the financial and the legal side of setting up both last two corporations I've made. I've had 3 or 4 corporations total, and what can happen is you can get wrecked with bills, fees, taxes, just like insane, and like sending your money off to a tax person. They come back and they're like, "Well, looks like you owe $300,000." And I'm like, huh? Like that doesn't even a little make sense.
How can I owe $300,000? I didn't make $300,000.
Right. Or like I made like 380 and they're like, well, 300 of it goes to the government. I'm like, that's not even a little sensible.
But that's exactly why you invest the time and money like up front.
Oh, I
to
did,
figure
but
out
I
how
just
you
didn't
want to
invest it with Sara. And so
right.
my key point is that
Bob.
let me ask a question that goes with that. I am still, and for a bunch of years hence, will be railed in the realm of federal taxes and all that. The IRS and I are very tenuous pals for years right now. No credit, no loan, forget that. That all happened because there's no simplicity to how do you understand that you have the right lawyer and the right accountant to do that. Where does that exist? Where is the Happy Meal ordering system for setting up? Because LegalZoom isn't it either, like, which is kind of what you were alluding to is, you can go to any of those idiot sites, spend $200 and really put yourself in a bind. But how do I know to go with Sara? And why is F your logo when that's like your middle name?
That's what the designer designed.
Oh, okay.
It
No
looks
reason.
silly.
Okay.
And
So
you just went with the first one, Sara? Come on. You're a lawyer. You could be like, do better.
Do better. I don't know. I was more like to the color part of it, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool.
that's a color.
But the F part of it is kind of an odd thing because there is another attorney by the name of Sara Hawkins that in my state who was disbarred many years ago, shortly after I joined the bar.
Oh, lucky you.
And I'm like, I really need to differentiate myself.
Can we look at the F
Use
again,
my
Chris?
middle name.
Oh, please hang on. I'll rush to it.
But so Happy Meal ordering system.
So yeah. No, but I mean, I'm so sorry to hear that, Chris. And that's no, but it's tough because it's a long-term conversation with people you don't want to have a conversation with. And it's hard to ask the question, but I think nowadays we are just so connected to the internet that people think that, oh, there's a website that will do this for me. Same with like trademark application. You can go to LegalZoom and they'll do a trademark for you. And with AI, a lot of great things can happen. One of the problems with AI is they don't know what questions to ask. So garbage in, garbage out. Like let's go back to the early 80s with that lingo. But that's the problem is a lot of business people don't know the question to ask. And they only know a friend who's an attorney who may not practice in that area, or their friend's law firm is a bigger firm. And, it's just out of their budget because their budget is really zero. And I would say, find an attorney that practices being an attorney, not an attorney who's trying to sell you how to market your business. There are, a lot of great, marketers out there that aren't lawyers, and perhaps that is
Well,
you
that's
should go to for
their
marketing.
problem. I do the whole
Right.
thing.
I know.
Sarah, who
But
can
yeah.
help you? Like, so if anybody out there now is like, uh-oh, I think I maybe did some things
Mhm.
not correctly, can they contact you no matter what state they're in? Or like, how is your
I do. I
practice situation?
I work with people all over the world. And definitely, I mean, people can contact me, and if I can't, help them, I could at least, help them with a question to ask, and get them to somebody local. Because sometimes you really do just need to sit down on Zoom, because we
I
can't be in
think that's what the F is for when you're like, F, I did
Yeah.
that wrong. I have to call
That's
Sarah.
probably. There we go. Marketing experts.
That just was based on my experience.
Yeah.
That's when I tend to hear from people.
Deanna asked the question, can you have a lawyer in another state from where you were incorporated?
Yeah, because you may not even live in the state you're incorporated in. And like I said, an attorney who is larger firms might not want to work with people outside of their license area. So if you're in Massachusetts, you might find a larger firm that works with people in Massachusetts. A lot of the more entrepreneurial attorneys work with people around the world, because I'm not representing you in court. I am licensed in my state, and I'm not representing you in court. So we don't really have that particular issue with the licensure part of it. What you want is, it doesn't matter where they live. You want somebody who can help you answer your questions and, figure out either who to ask in your local area or who to connect you with, who can, get you the resolution that you need. It's like working with an accountant. I have a lot of online clients, and influencers, bloggers, and attorneys, accountants don't often understand what they do. How do you tell somebody, yeah, I need like 6 new microphones because I would need, but more lights and stuff. And they're like, yeah, you can have one. I'm like, well, you don't know what I do. You don't understand what I do. And
Right.
I think that's kind of the difference for me is I was in this space. I've been in this space. I understand what entrepreneurs do. I understand what influencers do. And I can foresee what the questions that you're going to have, so I can answer them, because you don't know what you don't know. And
Right.
if you go to an accountant who is a traditional, works with traditional businesses, the restaurant down the street, or the bodega, or whatever it is, but they don't understand your business, it's not going to help you. You're not going to get the benefit of the taxes. You're not going to get all the benefits, because they will just keep pushing back on, legitimate expenses.
So there's a difference. Deanna had asked a question that I feel like you answered, but I'm going to pop it up just to show you. How do they manage differences in business laws by state? Because my accountant is in the same state for that reason, so that they know Illinois law. And I think that your answer is that there's a lot of stuff that's just kind of overwhelmingly similar in the law, but that until you're representing in court, it's not as big a deal as what you said.
Right.
And is there such a thing still as a family lawyer? I need to update some wills and stuff like that. Probably, right? There's still family law.
There definitely are. And there are people who specialize in wills, trusts, and estates. And those are very state specific. You can get kind of a general will. There are powers of attorney that are specific to, like, maybe specific clauses for the state. But on family stuff, like wills, especially wills and powers of attorney, the place where I send most people who don't feel that they can spend, $1,000 to get an estate plan is to the state the state where you live. Go to the Attorney General website and look up, power of attorney, look up will. And most of them will have a basic form. No, it's not going to be on fancy paper. It's not going to have a heretofore and forthwhich, and of the first part type of thing. But it'll be a fill in the blank form that is legal in your state. And, if you need a healthcare power of attorney, they have the basic standards there.
Talk to a lawyer first, though, because honestly, I don't know why more people don't use trusts. I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole, but you could like put all your stuff into a trust, and whatever you want to happen to, it's going to happen to it. If you change your mind, it's super easy to change, easier than a will.
A trust is a personal company kind of thing.
Yep.
It's for your family. But again, if you don't know the question to ask, somebody hands you a trust and you're like, this is great. And you don't put anything in the trust. Like you don't retitle your house into the name of the trust. You don't retitle the bank account into the name of the trust.
Then it's empty.
Right. So
just write down when you're going to go to this lawyer, Deanna, write down like trust ? And have the conversation.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Trust can be expensive. Just know that trust can be expensive. And so you need a budget for it because some of them can run, $5,000 to $10,000, depending on, what your asset structure is.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to bring back Leigh and we're going to start wrapping up our show. So Deanna says, I'm pretty sure we have an empty trust. My favorite will be.
You got to fill it up. Put a peppercorn in it.
Put a peppercorn in the trust. Yes. Hi, Leigh. Welcome back.
Hey, I've decided I need Sara. Where was she years ago?
Oh my gosh. That's what I'm thinking.
You're like, any one of my 12 businesses could have benefited.
I'm with you. I mean, I'm with Chris, man. You got to surround yourself with great people. There is nobody on this planet that's going to be great at everything. So the Happy Meal company, somebody needs to come up with that. That was perfect.
I feel like that's what legal seems supposed to be, and it just isn't because, they don't give you enough context for the decisions you have to make.
Well, because there's liability involved in making it pretty locked up, right? If you make it sound like there's only the one way to go, then there's some liability to that.
That's true.
Shenanigans. Yep. Anyway, look, that was way too much for me.
It was way too much cat butt for me, but a lot of we're making lists of things that are too much.
Things I don't get.
Friday the 13th. You better be good to that cat.
That's what someone said, Leigh, and I thought
Friday the 13th.
I'm squeezing her head, so
be nice to your cat.
I'm gonna fall down a flight of stairs soon. All right, listen, I do have a question for the both of you, and it is interesting to both be in the kind of businesses where you are, where there's a great amount of authority that you've earned through hard work, but it is still an interesting world out there where people still say, "Isn't that nice?" or whatever, or you still get kind of diminished in some way. Talk a little bit about that, and when did you finally start feeling like you didn't even have to answer that anymore? It's like that last scene in The Matrix when Neo doesn't even have to dodge the bullets. When did that happen to you?
Well, you want Sara to go or me? Which one? Sara? Okay. I think you still, in the heart of every being in America, I don't care who you are, it hurts when people say negative things. It hurts. I don't care who you are. I don't think I ever get over that because my mission on this planet was never to your job is to leave this planet better than when you got here. That's your job. Take care of people. And whatever you find that passion. I mean, look at Sara. She's in her place. I mean, she's exactly where God wanted her to be. And I honestly think that when you find that, everything else is fine. And the arrows I could care less about because I can change people's lives, whether it's a health or maybe financially or physically, or, I mean, gosh, what's that about? That's powerful. So you got to find your place. You got to find where you're meant to be. Do what you're really meant to be. If you wake up in the morning and you're not supposed to be there, get the heck out. I don't care what it is. I don't care where it's at or what's going on. And I think this whole COVID thing is actually really better for all of us. It's made us all rethink. I mean, come on. How many people have HR jobs that the person was sitting there worried to death because they walk into work and the person looked at them wrong or somebody said something wrong? These poor HR people don't have any jobs right now. Nobody's fighting. Nobody's bickering. Well, how many companies are thinking outside the box? That's what this whole thing has made happen. We're doing things virtual. We're working harder. We're more effective. We're spending more time with our family, hopefully. Maybe good or bad.
There's definitely a silver lining, but I'd still rather not.
I would not, but think about it. My great-grandmother and my grandmother are now on Zoom. I mean, we're having birthday parties where they're talking on a TV and they can see each other. They're like, can we do another Zoom? They're 80 years old. I'm like, yeah, of course I can do it right now. I mean, that's the coolness of this. Or StreamYard. I mean, these great services y'all offer.
Sure.
It's all about vision. We're in such an incredible time in our life. And I just think this is going to come out. We're going to come out stronger, more considerate, I pray. And, the blessings are endless what this thing's going to bring out in the future. It's going to make us a better country.
Sarah, what do you think?
Oh, so the question was, I think I remember the question.
Was just sort of basically
when I
people,
stopped thinking I'm not the person that I shouldn't be a resource or something like that.
When did you start realizing that, you were quite above these slings and arrows of mortal man?
She's an attorney. They drilled that out of
they made an entire movie called Liar, Liar about us.
Yeah. You can't care what people think of you if you're going to be an attorney.
No, you can't.
I guess to some degree I still do, because I really value my clients, and I want them to be successful. I really come from a point of I am not successful if my clients are not successful. The more successful my clients are, the more successful I can be. A lot of people just don't come from that perspective. And, like, what qualifies you? Well, I have 20 years of experience, and, I work with entrepreneurs who, got $100 in their pocket, and I work with Fortune 10 companies. So, make what it as you, whatever it is that you want. And I mean, if I'm not the lawyer for you, I'm not the lawyer for you, but
Sarah's the lawyer for you. Stop shopping, everyone.
I'm like, seriously, like, I mean, I will.
I don't get any money for that or anything, by the way. I've known Sara for years, and she knows her stuff.
I mean, people. I always just tell people you can do it yourself, and then you can come to me and pay more money, and I'll fix it for you.
You'll fix it after they messed up.
I do. I fix a lot of things. I mean, people do it online, and then I have to fix it, and I feel terrible.
Yeah. So just go to Sara first.
It'll be faster that way for all of us.
And less expensive.
All right. We have a person of the day. This is sponsored by PubSite, pub-site.com. That is our sponsor for person of the day. I'm giving it to Deanna because she asked a lot of good legal questions that were good fodder for the experience. And I like Deanna. So person of the day, that entitles you to an apple, just like that one you see on the screen right there. You just got to go to any old store and buy it.
Deanna did start her own show, by the way.
She did launch her own show.
Way to go, Deanna.
On StreamYard. That's some really good stuff. So that worked out just fine. All right, one last question, and then you are all out of here. I will hang up on you. It is, what goes in your backpack? That could be something physical, but it can be something metaphorical. It could be whatever it's going to be that helps us get through the next 5 years. So you have all these captive audience people who are now scared, don't want to start a business anymore. What do you think goes in their backpack for the next 5 years?
Go ahead, Leigh.
I'd have to really boil it down to a blessing journal. I use a blessing journal every day. And this is a blessing. Thanks for inviting me, guys. But the reality is people take for granted the wonderful blessings. You have eyeballs and you have 2 hands and you have air in your lungs. You are blessed. Write that damn down. And so for me, I have a pen and a journal because there's something magic with the written word. And if you write it, you can see it, you can visualize it, you can go back and see the path you've been in the past. So for me, it's definitely a blessing day journal.
It's so true. Writing it down is definitely powerful.
Oh my gosh, the universe keeps telling me that one over and over again. I think I'm going to have to listen.
Write it down.
Sarah, what goes in the backpack?
I would probably say gratitude, kind of building on that. But, I'm really grateful for my clients. For 20 years, I get to, truly do what I love, because I love being a lawyer. I get to see my clients do what they love. Like, what's better than that? And, I'm grateful. I'm actually looking at, I wish I truly could bottle this for you, Chris, and send it to you. Blue skies, palm trees. It's sunny outside. I wish I could bottle that up for both of you, because I know you're both in Massachusetts right now. But just, I'm really grateful. I'm grateful for my friendship with Carrie.
You bet you don't have cat butts. There you are.
I'm grateful for my friendship with Carrie. And I will put in a plug for Chris's parents, because before I knew Chris, I knew his mom. And so she was part of the BA 75 with me. The Twitter thing. And it was just the funniest thing, because a lot of people gravitated toward her because she was Chris's mom. And I'm like, I don't care who this Chris person is, but I just think you're pretty darn cool.
His mom's the best.
So,
I love
Diane
his parents.
Rogan, I miss you. And I know that they're just up in Vegas, but I hope they're doing well.
Yeah, swing by way after the quarantine's over.
When there's a vaccine and you've had it and they've had it.
Yeah.
And
Like the top of my list is like no killing other people.
That's good. That's
Always
pretty,
preferable, sure.
Good rule of thumb.
I mean,
Good
that's a
rule of
little
thumb.
lower on my
That's-
list than it probably should be, but
Usually my approach. I can't say without exception.
I don't want to kill people with a virus. That's all. I want other means. You know, I think, you know, if she were around, my grandmother would have been part of the BA 75 too. I think she's the kind of person who exemplifies it. For one example,